All right. Welcome back to the Geekset podcast, the only podcast that blend hip-hop culture and geek culture together. I'm your boy Deuces in the building, and today, I know we say it a lot, but we are speaking with royalty. I'm talking about Black excellence, geek excellence. We are talking to the one and only Debra Wilson. How are you doing?
I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I'm well. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm on just a little bit of vocal rest. Okay. So I hope I'm coming in loud and clear still enough. Yep. My dog. I hope I'm coming in loud and clear.
Yes, you are. You 100% coming in loud and clear.
Right on. I've been just doing a lot of vocal stress performances lately.
Well, yeah.
But fun stuff. Yeah. Demonic stuff. Demonic possession stuff. So I like that stuff.
Well, here's the thing. And this is one of the things we talk about on our podcast a lot. It's like, we love that there's, with so many people taking the helm of like directing and getting these stories out, we love the fact that we are now getting stories of Black people just doing things. Right, and like not everything is always rooted in trauma or rooted in, it's like we are having situations where Black people can be on a ghost hunt and it doesn't have to be racially motivated, or we're having things where Black people can be fighting robots and it's just a Black person fighting a robot, and we love that because it's like that's that geek world that sometimes get left out. It's like, oh, you got to have that trauma story. It's like, no, we don't need that all the time.
Right, you know? Absolutely. It's because it becomes stereotypical, as if that's where our strength comes from. And I think a lot of people, especially in white America, think that a lot of our strength comes from having to overcome. Yeah. You know, that's our history. And so people are using that as a prevalent means of respecting us because we've been through so much, right. You know, and I think there's a lot more we know there's a lot more to our story than his story.
Yep. And, you know, and it's people like you. I got a chance to speak with the lovely Rachel True as well. You know, hopefully I can get to speak with Cree Summers, but it's people like you guys that, like, you guys, your voice is just so powerful because you guys are in so many different things. You know, like you specifically, you are part of Star Wars, you are part of Star Trek, you are part of Call of Duty. Like, you got so many fandoms that you are a part of, but it's your vocal range. And it's one of those things, as soon as we hear it, like, there go Debra. Like, we get
and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, sometimes
because I also do, like I said, demonic possession. And in 180 our looping session where everyone was playing someone in a tenement, mm-hmm. I decided to be dogs and babies.
Okay.
You know, because when I think of tenements or when I think of movies with tenements, I always think of a crying infant somewhere in the background and in some place.
All right. Okay. So with you starting with improv and starting with, you know, just like, you know, sketch comedy and everything, how did you actually get into the voice acting? Because, you know, for the most...
Actually, I didn't, believe it or not. I didn't start with improv and sketch comedy. I actually started drama. Okay. I actually was with a company. I didn't stay long, but I was doing a play called Passion with the African Women's Repertory.
Okay.
And so that started a little bit earlier, believe it or not, because I had always desired and assumed and told myself, I'm going to be dramatic. By the time I was 5, I'm not going to be a dramatic actress. I'm going to be dramatic. Because again, and I think, I don't know if it's historical or cultural, but I gleaned onto the idea that, and the concept of the trauma is what makes you strong. You know, you go through some trauma in life, whether it's romantic trauma or, you know, a violent trauma or whatever that makes you strong. And I think my biggest influence at the time as a child was like, and I wasn't really a child, but I'm saying in my teens and stuff, was like Roots.
Okay.
You know, and so as a foundation, I didn't see us being persecuted. I saw us getting stronger. So yes, I saw the persecution, but my mind worked through the persecution to get to the strength to speak your truth and to tell your story, no matter what it would be. And so for me, it was always that place to get to this place, that place to get to this place. But it was never stuck on this mentality or a slave mentality or a held down mentality or a blame someone for this, for this. It was always, how do I move through this and dramatically use it to get to this thing. And so for me, drama was something I've always wanted since I was 5 years old. And comedy, I kind of fell into, believe it or not. It was presented, and the realities of comedy was just the reality. And so once I recognized what improv was by raising my hands and joining an improv group on stage as an audience member, I began to learn the simplicities of the rules of improv, and there's only two: yield and don't deny. And so it was fun to be able to push the envelope, because I've always been an envelope pusher. I've always pushed the envelope. As a child, I got my ass beat on more than one occasion. So I was always an envelope pusher. So doing improv was just another form of pushing that envelope. Mm-hmm. And the reality of that envelope, and people laughed because they get a chance to see themselves, and they get a chance to see an aspect of themselves that they know they wouldn't do, what they wouldn't do. And I get a chance to represent the things you would love to do that you would be bold in doing, but not do. And then the things that you've done, you're like, oh man, I remember doing that. So, ooh. So yeah, it just was kind of an unfolding world when it came to sketch and improv. And it just became larger and larger. The world was larger than me. And so when it came to me, it was presented to me, which I didn't really seek out. It was just voluminous. And the more I went down, it was like Alice going down the rabbit hole. It was Alice in Wonderland. And I continued to just fall down that rabbit hole and meet all these characters that I continue to pull from, and all the realities that I continue to pull from, and glean the wisdom and the knowledge and the awareness and the recognition, and what was a trap and what wasn't, what I fell into because I lost my head off with her head, in terms of the realities and the fantasies of things, and trying to put those together without the fear of feeling like I'm a failure, and then move through those, and then still failing at things, or what I believed and considered at the time a failure, to move through them to continue to grow me, because even that failure was, again, that dramatic thing, like I'm going to strengthen myself. And we come from a people of various African religions, and then being pushed and made to have a Christian religion, and then various beliefs within the Christian religion, and carrying certain traditions that were Southern traditions, and all of these things to build our spirituality, to make us stronger. All of those things made me grateful to be Black. It made me grateful to be African American. It made me grateful to be able to have places to pick from strength and weaknesses to make stronger, and then move through this wonderland. So as I moved through that wonderland, I never forgot my roots. My personal roots, my family roots, my cultural roots. I never forgot my neighborhood roots, all of those things that kind of strengthened me into the look, even the look that you see today, that says I am absolutely most authentically me, and no matter what I do, no matter what I pierce, and I can tattoo myself all damn day long, but under this skin is a Black woman. Under these tats is a Black woman. And yeah, it's a great place to be, because I'm growing my authenticity even more now than I ever have, which is giving me full reign, especially when it comes to voiceover and performance capture and motion capture and video games, to play epic characters without question of my race.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because and it's funny because when we realize it's you, again, it's just, we hold you in such a high regard. So we feel so proud to see that, because I think, like I said, we can talk about it. What, you're the first Black female Jedi technically in video game. Like that's
yeah.
So it's like, it's like those breaking things in the geek culture, we hold on to that, like, yes, like, and we love it. But here's one thing that I like: the drama background is very, very prominent of you, is because, like, one, you can hear the way you speak, just in general. You speak very poised. You have a great speaking voice, but also the impersons, when you impersonate not impersonate, but when you do your impressions of somebody. When you do your impressions of somebody, you're not.
Now that's a real geek. To know the difference between impersonations and impressions, I bow down to you, my brother.
Hey, we're in this world.
Bow down.
Right.
Bow down. I bow down to you. Thank you. Because there are, in more than one interview, in more than one discussion, in more than one conversation, I've had to discern and disseminate between the two for people that I'm talking to. So thank you. Bow down. I bow down.
Like, because of that, and because of like what an impression it actually is, and then you are taking that and you are giving, like you said, like that what if. So you're bringing the trueness of a character, but just putting him in a situation that we didn't see him in yet. So you're not making fun of the character. You're taking this character. You maybe expands a part of their personality.
Of that celebrity, yeah.
But you're really just putting them in a situation like, what if this person did this? And I think that comes with that drama, because when you have a drama background, you're bringing a realization something real to each role that you take. So instead of just making fun of somebody, you're taking those roles like, okay, I'm going to be doing Oprah. So what would Oprah be like in this situation? And then where's the fun in it? Like, what's, what part can we, whether it is you giving out a whole bunch of gifts for no reason, going crazy with the gifts, but it's just like, we've seen that all the time. And I think that
or pulling my finger and watching thousands of dollars shoot for my ass.
So like I said, on this platform, we do make sure that we always give people their flowers. And I want to say you have gave years and years of entertainment. And I just want to make sure that you are aware how much you are loved and cherished within this.
Blessings. All blessings do. All blessings also goes to my sister goddess, because believe it or not, we're not that different in age, but she's played my mother in a particular movie. But I got to give it up to my sister goddess here.
Now that was one of the people that you said that was your go-to in your audition. It was her and Rosie Perez, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Way before the Oprah, definitely. and on this movie that I worked with her on, playing her daughter, and I felt geeky to walk up to her and tell her, like, I kind of, did you? And then she also did an episode of Mad TV. She stopped at one point and kind of gave me the hand. And I thought she was going to say, don't do that again, or, you know what, that's disrespectful. But she was like, I don't say weird. I say weird. Drop the R. Okay, don't give me the R. Don't give me the R. I don't say R's. So when it comes to the word weird, it's not weird. It's not weird. Don't say weird. I don't say the word weird. I say weird. That's weird. She actually gave me tips.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And that's kind of like, again, that's like a surreal moment. So I'm gonna give you a surreal moment that I just had, because when I reached out to your peoples and then they gave me your information, and then they was like, okay, well, Debra's gonna be reaching out to you. And I was like, all right, cool. And then it took like about a week, and I was like, man, I am really just talking back and forth with Debra Wilson about setting up this interview. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, it was like, so it was like you had that surreal moment, somebody that you respect, look up to, like, hey, I kind of got it. And they're like, let me help you out real quick. And you're like, wait, what? Like you're just having this real conversation. So it's like,
and that surreal moment was not even the first surreal moment. I had dreamed of her before I was in the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. And the dream was always the same. And I always woke up crying. I always woke up in tears. I always woke up very teary and very emotional. And then that dream came to pass years later. And as I was walking through this experience in California, I was walking and I was like, why does this sound familiar? Why does this feel familiar? And it was the dream. And I met her. I met her the same way I did in the dream the first time. It was really very surreal.
That's super dope. Now,
yeah, it is.
You living or being from the East Coast, but then moving to the West Coast, that had to be a huge cultural shift for you.
Of course it was, but the cultural shift was really amazing and wonderful. Awesome. Because I knew in the larger space of my life, LA was home.
Okay.
But in the personal and psychological and emotional space, it was extremely foreign to me. And it felt awkward from the inside out, and I felt undeserving.
Okay.
And when I was younger, when I thought of LA and watched movies that took place in LA, and Beverly Hills Cop, and all of these movies, I'm like, look at the palm trees and look at the women that are blondes riding roller skates and bikinis with boas on their neck, and I'm talking about like snake boas on their neck, and Venice Beach, and watching all of these television shows that took place in LA, whether they're cop shows or whether they're cop shows or comedy shows, and going, LA must be just, it's like Disneyland. It's got to be like Disneyland. It's just got to be amazing. And all of the stuff that goes on out there and everything I'm watching and bringing into my living room, it was like living this duality between living here in New York, but experiencing LA, because I'm experiencing people's homes and people's families through these comedies, Three's Company. And so it's like, well, I'm going to the Regal Beagle with him, with Jack. Yeah. And at the same time, I'm in their apartment, Right. And so for me, it was having this duality. And I knew that meant I was ready to immerse myself, that as performing wise, that was one of the factors of what allowed me to know that I could immerse myself in characters, immerse myself in a space, because I could easily do that as a kid when I was watching another television series called the San Pedro Beach Bums, and just immerse myself in the sand and immerse myself where I was while still being in New York.
Right.
Mama. And so the kids, she's like, I fucking hate kids. And so being able to do that, I didn't know that was going to be one of the key factors in me using that as a part of my luggage to carry when I came to LA. But I also brought a lot of baggage. And so it was a matter of now figuring out how to hold on to the luggage and accept the luggage while letting go of the baggage and being forgiving of the baggage.
Right.
And so when I finally was able to balance that out, which was not that long ago, I really settled into all of the things that I really wanted about LA, which is to be here lifelong.
All right, that's good. Yeah. You know what? And that's one of the things that we got to make sure that we continuously like talk about more. It's like, yes, it's a cultural shift. It can be good. But like being able to unpack your baggage. I mean, that's one thing that we don't necessarily face a lot all the time. We kind of go through the moments, or we say, oh, we'll work through it. But sometimes you got to address it full-fledged in order to work through it. And oftentimes, especially in the Black community, we don't speak about those that often. So it's always refreshing to hear more and more people have that awakening. That's one of the awakenings that I had. I realized that I get joy out of just helping people follow their dreams, right? I don't need any kickback or anything like that. But if I because, in this world of just being a content creator, musician, whatever we do, oftentimes you're going to have more people tell you, you can't do this, whatever it is, when it's not an actual like job, but it's more of a, something like this, right? And so I said, I'm going to always be, no matter what, I'm going to be that person that could be somebody's cheerleader. Whether we just met or not, if you tell me your dream, I'm going to cheerlead. And if I see you again, I'm going to check in on it. Hey, man, how's that going? Because I know that that's going to come few and few. And I realized that, like, man, you know what? I feel fulfilled out of doing that for people. Not looking for any kickback, but just knowing that I can have somebody, they can have that moment to speak passionately about one of their dreams or aspirations that they don't normally get to talk about. So it's one of those things, like when you see people have awakenings, whether it is, facing their flaws, or facing their hurdles that are getting in their way, or just even have an awakening in what you think your life should be, that is always amazing to me. So,
Absolutely. That is the nature of God. You're just living the nature of God. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Whether you believe in God or not. I'm not asking you what your faith is or what your religion is, whether you believe or not. That is the nature of something much larger than you. So if you want to equate God with something much larger than you, an innate experience and expression, a powerful vibration within you that needs no explanation, but yet you take full ownership of, that's the nature of God. Yeah. You don't need to explain why you do it. It may not be a psychological or emotional reason, but it exists within you, and it's always dwelled within you before you were even flesh on this planet. Yeah. And so when you came to the planet, the universe is always constantly moving and shifting to conspire in your favor. And as it does, you get all these hints and all these clues and all these experiences to put together and go, okay, I get it now. I get it. It's going to take me a while, but they're always going to be there. They're always going to be there. They're always going to be there. It's like walking around in Vegas and someone's always asking if you want a drink. It's always going to be there. So it's always going to be presented. And you may not be thirsty at the time, but one time you will be thirsty and it will be there.
Yeah.
And so it's always there. And so God is going to continue to not only bless you, but glean your wisdom so that people are brought your way. People say that there is no God and God has abandoned them, whatever they believe. But the bottom line is, if they have an experience with you, they've experienced the face of God.
Oh, yeah. I definitely do. So I want to go back to, because I wanted to get, so how did you get into actual voice acting? So like, what was that transition?
It was no real transition. And the reason I say it wasn't a transition is because, on Mad TV, I did a lot of voice work. I mean, whenever we did music videos of Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston, I always did the singing and the harmonies. It was all me. And then when we did commercial jingles for Spishak, it was all me. Or doing or being the VO for Spishak, it was all me. Well, not always all me, but when I did those kind of things, or any commercial parodies that we did, and I was the VO for that. So that was already there.
Okay.
And I never saw it as a separate entity, but I also never saw it as something that was going to move in this direction. It was always these two together. They were married. So as long as I was on camera and you needed something that was parody oriented and music oriented and voiceover oriented for commercials and parody stuff, to me, they were a marriage, you know? So they were separate, but not. In other words, I did that, but it was still a connected thing because it was Mad TV and it was parody oriented and all of those things. So I never saw it as a separate thing. And then God said, I have a quest for your life. And because I have a quest for your life, I want you to turn to me because I know the innermost workings of your heart, which are to be loved and validated. And you're not looking for the money, you're looking for this creative outlet to constantly create from within and bring forth within. Well, that's what I want for you. That's what I want for all of you. And I put me inside of all of you to just spring forth all this amazingness so that you can recognize you're amazing and stop putting each other down. And most importantly, stop putting yourself down in order to put other people down. And so when you know this amazingness and you come up with all these gifts that are shooting out from you, how you use it is up to you. But you're created this world around you, this construct around you in this three-dimensional space where it can be for professionally, or it can be for love and compassion, or it can be a hobby, whatever it is. But I've set you all on this quest.
Right.
And so if you let me take over in the regard of opening your mind to what I have in mind for you, I'll take it from you and give it back to you and open you up in a much more voluminous way, because your spirit is eternal, and that's what I want to focus on. And so when voiceover came to me, little did I know that as I continue to accept and have fun and play and be silly without having an agent, without wanting to be in, on a mic, without any aspirations on a serious professional level, stuff comes because you're playing in the Garden of Eden. And God says, I provided everything for you in that garden. And how I was found was I was doing a live theater piece with Acme Comedy Theater, and it was a game show from the 50s. And at one point there was a car that was pulled from like a magic window. And I do a baby voice. So I did this happy, fun baby voice. And little did I know that there was an agent in the audience from one of the largest agencies between New York and LA, who had a client who was on stage with me and said, who is she? What else does she do? And this agency said, listen, would you come in for a meeting? And again, no voiceover other than Mad TV. I didn't have a reel. I didn't put anything together. And when I went in like I did when I auditioned for Mad TV. It doesn't matter whether I get it. You're asking me to show you who I am. And that to me is a gift. So it's not about having an agent. It's about having this present moment and showing you who I am because you've asked. What a gift in and of itself that you asked to show me who I am and to show you all the magic that's within me, all the joy that God has shown me. So you're going to ask me about my joys? Okay. It's like asking me about my animals, because I have scorpions and tarantulas. So the moment you ask me, I get geeky and I'm like, so when I'm sitting in an office with all these agents across the table, I'm like, oh yeah, oh my God, I love doing this. So it wasn't a matter of in the back of my mind playing the role of actress in order to get an agent for voiceover. It was like, oh my God, I'm gonna tell you what I do. Okay. And every time I did something, they would laugh. I'm like, okay, watch this. Okay. Dog barking in the distance. Okay, wait, baby. Okay. Okay, here's my Gallagher. Okay, with this. So then, pulling out all these character voices and the archetypical stuff, like, the witch and the queen and the sister and the white girl and the white kids and the little white boy. I mean, I do them all. And so it was a matter of just being able to pull those out. And that day they said, we want you in the booth now. We're going to give you some stuff we're going to give you some auditions right now. I hadn't even signed anything, but it was like, okay. And at the same time, the reason God wanted me in that position, because as the world continued to transmute with all of these different movements for recognition, from the LGBTQ community to the Black Lives Matter movement to the racial disparities in Hollywood in and of itself, and the Me Too movement, all of these things were coming to the forefront. Here I am working now in an aspect of the business that doesn't care about my age, my race, my appearance. And I'm playing epic roles and epic characters. I'm fighting dragons. I am dragons. I'm in tons of World of Warcraft, and prolific little characters like the baby Murloc. And so I'm in worlds that we had seen probably as kids as being the white world. And isn't that really cool? From standing on this side of the fence to actually moving through that fence and breaking through that fence and climbing over that fence and pulling down that fence to go, I'm supposed to be on that side too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just for you, it's for everyone who can geek out and do these things and have fun. And so for me, I'm not playing epic Black characters, I'm playing epic characters. And when it does require that, because I do a lot of, I would just tell you, I do games with this voice as well. So I have a feeling you know the things I am involved with when I do this voice. Yes, brother, yes? All right then. So to play characters like this as well is a very, very, very big thing for me, because that has raised the vibration of what we are to see an image of ourselves in a DC or a Marvel and be able to recognize our strength, our power, along with all the others who are metahumans, who come from different worlds, who speak different languages, who have powers, who use their powers for good, and who vanquish evil. So to be able to be a part of all of that, franchises as big as that, including Star Wars, is, I don't say incredible anymore. I say very credible. I say it's fantastically and amazingly credible. What a powerfully credible thing to be a part of. To say incredible means that you don't believe that it is legitimate or it's so big that it can't be legitimized in what you say. And it can be legitimized because you're living it. And we can be living proof for each other, stand up and be beacons that it is great to be a part of this, and that each and every one of us have that potential, have that opportunity, as long as we stay the course and trust, have faith that it belongs to you, because you're already living it. You may not be getting paid for it, but you're already living it. And as you live it, let the universe show you mirror images of what it can be beyond you just living it, because it's within you. It has to be put out. That God wants no less of you. God is no less within you. So to put it out is honoring that self, honoring that creator, honoring something that is much larger than yourself, because you can't help it. You can't help giving. You can't help but to mentor. You can't help but to watch people raise their vibration. That's because you know you are one with that energy. And therefore you are recognizing and remembering your wholeness as a being that doesn't need a body to express that it's for this person at this time for this reason, you know. And to remember is like, there are no such thing as opposites. But if I had to use that, coin that word, opposites, it's like the opposite of dismember, because to dismember is to take a piece of you from the body. Like if you dismembered your head, you're taking the head away from the whole.
Right.
And to remember is to reattach yourself to that whole. So every time you do that, you're reattaching yourself to something that has an eternal aspect to it when it comes to raising the vibration of other human beings.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's a powerful thing to just constantly live your most authentic self, which is what we come to this planet to do, above all and everything else. You know, to know that is what God's intention is, because flowers live their most authentic selves. Trees do, animals do. We're the ones that don't.
Yeah.
Not at all times. And so, but the world is a constant hotbed reminder, and a beautiful reminder to live your most authentic self. Because when we have those moments of that feel like the most authentic moment, we forget to tie it to our most authentic self. We think that it is outside of ourselves, you know, toes in the sand, you know, sun on the face, the smell of sea spray, you know, a good piece of food that you absolutely love, hearing your favorite song, falling in love, making love, your first time you saw your newborn child, all of those things. You got your first pair of sneakers that you really wanted, your first car, all of those things, your first kiss, you know, all of those things that have a monumental meaning. Whatever it feels like a lifetime. It feels like the Garden of Eden, because we are these eternal beings in physical bodies that are having that experience all the time. But in this world, we have a limited experience of what we were before we had physical bodies. And that's what's waiting for us on a larger scale.
Did I forget the clacker out there? I'm just gonna clap.
You had brought it too.
I know, I'm just gonna clap.
I'm mad, because I was definitely expecting you to get it.
I mean, I could quickly go grab it.
Just clap. 1, 2, 3.
All right, man. Welcome back to the Geekset podcast, the only podcast that blend hip-hop culture and geek culture together. I'm your boy Deuces in the building. With me, I got my man Liv.
What up? It's Liberace. It's the Puerto Rican Santa. The spiccato playing, beat making, motherfucking legendary ass Puerto Rican. Sofrito Papi, and we back.
As always, I got my man Bacardi in the building.
Randolph today.
Konnichiwa, bitches. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. I hate all of this so far. I hate all of it.
What's good, everybody? How we doing today?
And we got Didge in the building.
What is happening, people? What's happening, people? What is happening, people? What is happening, people?
He's out the booth.
But it's like I said, we are expanding. We are doing more. So they say make sure you go to youtube.com/Geekset. Follow us on all social media at Geekset Podcast on every social media. And rating reviews in, man. We are rating reviewers on Facebook, rating reviewers on Apple iTunes, rating reviewers on Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever platform you're looking at. Give us some ratings, let us know. And then again, this is the only podcast that blend hip hop culture and geek culture together. We are out.
Peace.
Yeah, you gave us a lot of time. Here's one thing that I don't think a lot of people realize about you, because, and you know what, I realized I didn't notice this about you until I started doing my research. So I always thought you were a dope person, but your spiritual connection and just the vibrations that you put out and just the things that you say are so powerful. And I'm like, why did I not know this about Debra? Because when you speak, you have that inspirational type touch to it. So one of the things that the way I run my business, our podcast, it started off just for the love, and then it turned to a business, right? And one of the things that I preach is that if you put people in place, like within the job, just whatever the job case may be, if you put them in something that they enjoy, they'll do the little bit extra. So like for me, like I enjoy making sure I can reach as many people as possible. So the marketing aspect of it, I'll do the little extra, right? So like whether it is like, okay, I'm going to figure out who is all writing about the geek community. And then I'm going to reach out to that person personally and send them a pitch and say, hey, I just want you to know about who we are. And in the future, if you do another article that we are considered, blah, blah, blah. And I do that on my own. Nobody else on my podcast had to tell me about it. Same thing, right? My guy, Bacardi, he does our merch line. I'm telling you, comes to our studio and just prints up shirts. I don't have to tell him the design. He comes up with his own design. And what you said about how you went into that audition, to me, that is, you are proud. This is something that you are passionate about, something that you just enjoy doing, is these different voices and persons and impressions and everything like that. So it's like, when you got the opportunity to showcase your wheelhouse, you're like, oh, wait, look at this. And it reminds me of like a kid. Christmas morning for kids are some of the biggest things ever, right? And if your family, your auntie, your cousin, when you get over to that, somebody else, you go over your sister's house or brother's house, that kid's pulling you everywhere. Auntie Debra, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And that's that passion that I always say, you gotta capture that. What are you passionate about? If you are passionate about finance, that person is going to go all out on the financing for you, because this is not a job for them. This is something they love. For me, it is being, saying my truth, speaking out, whether it is through my poetry, through my music, through podcasting. I just want my voice to be heard, to tell my side of, whatever the case or the topic may be. So I get passionate about it. And so it's like, you have that. And that's what I think what is very, very attractive about just you in a whole is your passions come through your work so much. Like it is very, very, like it's unwavering. Like nobody can ever say, well, was she really into it? Like, no, Debra's for it, because you can see it. But
that's another thing I'm very geeky about too.
What?
I'm very geeky about 1,000%. Once I'm immersed in something, it's going to take you a while to pull me out. It's going to take you a while to pull me out. If I'm doing voiceover, it's like, Debra, we have to end the session. But I'm like, what about this choice? What about this choice? What about this? Okay, what about this? I'm very passionate about it. So even though I was in a voiceover session, an ADR looping session for a film, and I shredded my vocal cords, I couldn't stop, because it's like, I have to make sure that all of this matches, because it's important for me to immerse myself in this space and legitimize what comes out based on everything else. So the voice for me is always the last. In voiceover, my voice doesn't come first. My voice comes last, because I have to build everything that I'm immersed in, so that my voice wants to tell the story of the space that I'm already in and have built within me. So the voice says, all right, and now I have a story to tell. But the reason I have a story to tell is because everything that's going on in your head and your mind and your feelings and your thoughts and how you're building up to that point, now the voice wants to burst out and tell the story. But the voice for me in voiceover is always last. It's never first.
Okay. That's nice. All right. I love when I can get an insight of an artist. Like you're giving us the insight on how you approach things. But
because I can always stop my voice, but my head won't stop. What's in my head won't what's in my head won't stop, and it keeps going on. It's just stream of consciousness. But that's me recognizing that we're eternal energy, and because there is no death and there is no stop and there is no, it's perpetual. It's perpetual. And so when I recognize that that's part of the perpetual energy of life in and of itself and the universe, it's like I can't stop. So now my voice needs to get out all of that stuff that is perpetual inside me, my thoughts, my feelings. And so now when they are focused on something on the screen, my whole life gets immersed in that. The hows, the whys, the whens, the wheres, the what to do, the objectives, everything comes flowing through, and then the voice speaks for all of the stuff that's within me. And that's how I work.
So the Boondocks, they put out like they used to put out like these behind the scenes, and that's one of the things that I realized. I got a chance to also talk with
Carl Jones.
Yeah. And so, but when I was looking into it, I was like, man, it looks like you guys be having like the riff, the funds behind it. What was there any show that was just like, or anything that you was part of voice work that you was like, man, this set was amazing. We just had so much fun that you keep as a memory always.
With Boondocks, it was everything.
Okay.
You know, Snoop Dogg came in, and of course, you know, you just have so many amazing people that come in, and sometimes we're not reading with them. And at one point, we had Erykah Badu come in, and it was amazing just to be in her presence, and you know, to watch me do what I do in the booth was a joy. Samuel L. Jackson, who he didn't want anybody near him, and so I wasn't allowed to be there, and no one was allowed to be there while he recorded his stuff. But to know that he wanted to do the show, he knew the show, and he wanted to do the show, and so he knew Aaron Magruder's cartoon strip. And then to come in and say, I want to be a part of this is really amazing. So every experience, even if I wasn't there for the experience, was a huge and integral thing, because the scripts were always funny, you know, and to come in and play these utility characters, and where, you know, I'm kids and I'm whores and I'm orphans and I'm whores and I'm to live at the orphanage. Funny. Even the concept of a orphanage is really hilarious. And to play various characters on that show, to have that opportunity instead of just doing one thing, was great, to be able to occupy the space of all these different people, you know, and let them tell their story, you know, live their experience, immerse myself in their experience, and then let my voice be their voice, you know. So I always disappear. I'm always the smallest being within me when they're telling their story, because it's always about them. And they're using my voice and crafting my voice and carving it and honing it to tell their story. And that's why my voice is never my own.
Okay, all right. Well, and there's one thing is like just good company, because you named a whole bunch of really dope people just like in the voice acting world and everything. But I wanted to ask you, because I know like some of your like the Mad TV counterparts. So one person that I also highly respect that I would love to, if I can get an interview with at some point, is Phil Lamar. And he does amazing voice work such as yours.
He's a geek.
He's a huge geek. I know he is.
Oh, you know, when we're done with this, you know I'm gonna contact him.
Hell yeah, let him know, man. Let him know, because I know he's busy. So like I said, that's the one thing I think that helped me be successful, and is my patience. Because I've talked to certain people and I'm like, they ask me like, how do you get these people? And I'm like, well, I hit them up, and then I'm flexible with their schedule, because I know how busy they are. But I'm like, I don't, like, some people are impatient. Some people, like, you tell them next month, and then they're now blasting you on social media like, oh my God, this person in Hollywood, they won't even do the interview until this time. I'm like, well, why would you do that? Like, that's one, that's not how business is going to be. But two, that's how you're going to burn way more bridges that way. So like, you know, when I just like in general, like I've expressed to a couple of people who are mutual friends to Phil Lamar. So yeah, if you just bring it up, that'll help out so much, because then he'll be like, oh yeah. But
I will.
So because again, he does a lot of voice work and everything like that. Do you guys like keep in contact in general? Because I know you keep in contact.
Which is why I'm gonna email him or text him after we're done
Yeah.
with your information. I'm absolutely going to do that. So yes, we do.
That's good.
Yes, we do.
It's good to see people that, you know, seemingly, you know, from long periods of time continue with each other, especially with how.
Oh yeah, there are a number of people. There are a number of people from Mad TV that what I consider lifelong.
Yeah, because
from the very beginning. So we're talking about 20 years or more at this point.
Yeah. And you know, it's one of those things, because I remember when everything with the reemergence of everything coming back, I'm like, you know what? If they just came back for like an episode, like if they don't got to do a full, if they just did like a Mad TV special, and we
did.
Yeah, I know this was before y'all did. That's what I was.
Oh, really?
But this was my mindset, because I was like, I don't want them to come back for the full, because you know that magic sometimes can't be recaptured. But if you get that one. And so that's why I was so excited about it, because I was one of y'all soldiers. I was one of the ones that, no, Mad TV way better than Saturday Night Live. Like, that was me, you know? And so, like, just to see everybody even still flourish, like Keegan Michael, you know, Jordan Peele, Keegan Michael Peele, like all of them, just seeing everybody still do their thing.
Alex Borstein.
Yeah.
Like, who won 2 Emmys.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I'm so excited, because I was team Mad TV till the end. I was riding with y'all for so long. But it was so much that came out. Like, I often go back and watch it, which one of the reasons why I love social media so much, well, it's specifically YouTube, is that all of that is recaptured. So every now and then I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. Let me go back and watch it, and I can watch it.
Me too. Someone will send me a link and I'm like, oh my God, where did you find this?
So do you have a favorite sketch that you did at that time?
I would never call it one thing my favorite, but because they each have their own special memories. But there are some memories that keep coming back to me over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And that is, there was a sketch we did called Syndrome. And it was all about people with these long tongue twister names. And everybody on the show, meaning producers and writers, always knew that I could do tongue twisters and I can speak fast.
Right.
And so it was me, it was Mo Collins, it was Will Sasso, it was Alex Borstein. And it was all about this syndrome called the Snappy Trickle Pentobacker Syndrome. And the doctors were Professor Lickenhalf and Philip Passenbeck, and Ramon von Klockendeckel-Tackelfat and Hussein, and Ellen Fester Lippenchip and Nancy Chalk Withering Lick Tacklefat. So now we're all having these sentences with everybody's name and the syndrome. And years later, I remembered part of the tongue twister, and it came to me like it was the same day. And it goes, and once Professor Lickenhalf and Philly Passenbeck made his remarkable discovery about the Snappy Trick and Pentobacker Syndrome, the Fester Lippenchip Chalk Withering Lick Tacklefat Foundation sprang into action. And it came back just like that, as clear as day.
I wouldn't even. I would have messed up by the same word. And
we did it in front of a live audience.
Yes, yeah, I would say, yeah. So I know the audience probably was like, oh, like, man, that's one of the things that I wish I was able to. I mean, obviously, I'm out here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so I didn't get a chance to. But it was like, I would have loved to have been in that live audience. I know that was amazing. Another one.
When you get a chance, look it up, and it just says Syndrome for Pregnant Women, or Pregnant Woman Syndrome, or look it up, and it's an amazing sketch, and it was an amazing sketch.
Look it up. I would look it up. Another one of the kind of characters that I used to love all the time was Bunifa, because she was hilarious to me, and then just like anytime there's a character that can continue. Like, I always love it, because then you're like, oh, like, because once we see the character, we already know who it is. So it's like, okay, what she's gonna be doing this time?
Yeah, and she's a different incarnation from when she came out. She popped out of an improv in New York. So by the time it came to LA for Mad TV, Bunifa, the inception of Bunifa was already 8 to 10 years old.
Oh, okay.
Completely different. And so the inception and the creation of Bunifa wasn't me at that point. It was the writers going, let's make her ghetto fabulous. And then, and kind of bipolar, but let's not call her bipolar. And the wardrobe and hair and makeup going, we're gonna make you so ghetto fabulous, girl. We're gonna beat you good. We're gonna beat that face. We're gonna come up with this wig. And so all praises to Uncle Matthew Caston, and Devon Shepard, who is a writer and producer.
Okay.
and a prolific writer and producer in Hollywood. And to Wendy Benbrook, who was the head of wardrobe.
Okay.
And Jennifer Aspinall, who was the head of the makeup department, who also came from Saturday Night Live. So they were a culmination of giving her this look, along with the writers, Devon Shepard going, I got to write on this. I got to write on this. Right. And having Bunifa be even more of what I ever thought she would be when she came up in New York improv. And it was just literally someone said, from an improv, you get people asking questions and they go, and it was an improv sketch we were doing and we're asking audience members stuff. And then it was like, anybody want to field questions from the audience? Because it was a talk show. Right. So it's like, do you want to ask one of our panelists? And they asked me and I straight out just said, I don't know where it came from, but it did come from this. And it just went, I went, Bunifa Latifah Halifa Sharifa Jackson. Just like that. Literally just like that. Man, and thus she was birthed.
Thus she was birthed, and she had
a
very long and joyous career. So when it came down, so in today's world, right, where we kind of touched on it a little bit early on, but there's so much Black representation now, right? Of not just doing just Black stuff, but just being able to tell our truth, right? So one of the things that I really truly love is I love, one, not necessarily only just the Black people behind the camera now, but also so many dominant and predominant Black women that are behind the camera that are doing things and everything like that.
Writing, directing, producing, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Issa Rae, Lena Waithe, Misha Green, like it's just so many people and things like that.
Ava DuVernay.
Have you connected with any of them?
No.
Oh man, I would love to see you guys together, just any one of those names, because I think you guys would be able to do a lot of dope stuff, especially with, like I said, the passions that you guys have. I see a lot of similarities in some of the stuff that you guys talk about, some of the things that you guys stand on, that you speak up about. And I think that that'd be dope, because one of the things that is funny, like when I reached out to do the interview with you, I often search social media just kind of see what people are talking about, and you'll hear people like, hey, what's going on? Where's Debra Wilson, right? Things like that. Then they'll follow up like, oh my God, like, they see the new image, because you got to think about it. Most people, they're thinking like, oh, Debra Wilson from Mad TV. So then when they see you now and they see the fully tatted, because I think on Mad TV, you only had the sleeve, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like partial stuff.
Yeah, partial stuff.
Yeah, very partial stuff.
So they see it now and they're like, oh my gosh, she's so this, she's doing this, she's doing it. So it's like, it's that emergence of it. And but it's like, when you see that also.
Some of them still thought I lost my damn mind. They're like, oh, why'd she shave her head? If it's not cancer, she lost her mind. Why'd she do that? Why'd she do all of that? So, and I'm like, and I'm cool with it, because it's, again, it is a shock to the system, especially knowing that you invited me into your home. So there's a familiarity there, and there's a familiarity to say what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and so on your mind when it comes to that look. It's like, I don't know you like that. What the fuck is all of this? So I get that too. I do. I get it, and I get it.
To me, like I said, I love it. So it's good. Again, it goes to that awakening, people just being their true self. And for me, when I saw it, I said, this makes sense. Like, it was like, because I started thinking about just what what you gave us and what you gave us. I said, I can see this being Debra Wilson. Like, I can see this aspect of her in life, and I love that embracing of it and everything. So you got a lot of people that's still riding with you on there. Yeah.
Right on, blessings. And I'm fully tatted. I have a full bodysuit.
Oh man, how long did that take?
I'm full. When I mean full, I mean full.
How long did that take?
I started when I was 25, so it has been 34 years worth of tattoos.
Okay.
It's been 34 years worth of tattoos.
I'm surprised.
And I keep filling in space because going up to my neck was recent as in the past couple of months, because my neck wasn't fully done, although it looks like I'm wearing a t-shirt like this, like a crew neck t-shirt underneath. It looks like that's where it ended. It ended right all up in here. And then I said, you know what? I said I would never do my neck, but I'm going to do my neck, because everything is, I won't say everything, but a majority of my stuff is symbolic. And so I wanted specific symbolism on my neck, and I knew what I wanted. And every time I know what I want, I envision it, And in my mind, it's already on me. So by the time I get tattooed, I'm like, yeah, that was already on me in my mind, in my third eye. Right. And then I'll go back and I'll go like, well, add this, because I didn't see this in my third eye, and add this. So once I think something is finished, if there's negative space, and I'm like, let's add on to the idea and the concept of it. And then before you know it, I'm sleeve. Before you know it, I got a full bodysuit. Before you know it, I'm tattooed up to my neck and then up in my chin. Nice. So I just got tattooed on Wednesday. And I have a full back piece. My whole body is done. But I have a tribal back piece.
We seen the back piece. It was a iconic picture that you did. It was you had your dreads, you looking to the side. Like, I remember that photo. I don't think you've done another one since then that showed the full tattoos yet, right?
Not really. Okay. I have been, it's interesting because having my own tattoo journey, and it's just a personal thing, became professional in terms of I was the first woman and the first woman and the first woman of color on a magazine that had exclusively only used white males on their covers.
Oh, okay.
Outlaw Biker Tattoo Review.
Was that where that picture came from that I was talking about?
No.
Okay.
No.
I did it on the internet, and like I think through one like Tumblr or something like that, it showed, and I'm like, oh man, I was like, because again, we remember the sleeve, but it's like, when I saw that, I was like, oh man, she got them all tatted. I was like, all right, that's what's up,
Yeah, I've even had my ass in magazine and in actual art books. There's a
right?
Say it again.
You got 2 roses on each cheek, right?
No, they're not roses, they're lotuses.
Ah, okay.
Or I like to call them Zulu flowers because of Roni Zulu, who is a very renowned tattoo artist who now lives in Texas, who did them.
Okay.
So I call them my Zulu flowers. But yes, they're 2 lotuses, 2 tribal looking lotuses. And there's a coffee table book, and it's really big and it's heavy, by Rafael Masuko, and it's called Kulo.
Okay.
And I'm center flat, in a pool with, and he put me in there. And when I got a copy of the book, I was kind of blown away that a lot of the pictures were supermodels. So I'm like, what? I'm in a book with supermodels. I'm with Linda Evangelista and other known supermodels. So it was a huge privilege, and it was the second time I was in a coffee table book. The first time was for Avatar, because I was the prototype for Neytiri. And so the prototype photo that was used by Stan Winston Studios at the time, James Cameron decided to put in that picture in The Art of Avatar, the book, and give me center page. And then show what Zoe Saldana looks like as Neytiri. But it was an amazing experience. And again, it was just like living your life and living your truth and living your joy and living your creativity. And then someone comes along and says, hey, would you do this thing? And I was like, sure. And for me, it was at the time when I was married, I just wanted to impress my stepson. It was like, I'm going to go have some fun. And at the same time, it was like, since you're visiting, I want to be able to take you into Stan Winston Studios where this is going to be eventually done. But that's before I knew it would happen. But a friend of mine worked at Stan Winston Studios, and I was like, I think we could come to take you out to lunch.
Right.
We'll come inside to wait for you before you're ready to go. And she was like, yeah, they're giving you permission. As long as you don't know what, the projects are, you can come see some iconic stuff and go into the conference room and see Stan Winston's iconic stuff. It was like a museum and a shop all in one. And someone noticed me who was working on a project, who didn't tell anyone else, who could not, under agreement, tell anybody else what that was, which is called Project 880. Turns out that was Avatar. So not even my friend Amy knew what it was. But they said, listen, do you think she'd want to come back and model? We think she'd be great for this. And it wasn't a paid gig. It wasn't, there was no contract or anything. It was like, do you want to come and do this? And it was, again, living that experience and that expression like you can't help it. It's naturally who you are. It's organic and innate within you to mentor and love and give and be compassionate and raise the conscious vibration. So for me, it was like walking into CESD, my agency, for the first time and going, oh, I can do this and I want to do this. And so when someone says, come and be artistic with us, for me, it's like living in an art commune where someone says, we want to just celebrate each and every one of you for who you are in this commune. And so for me, it was like, I'm taking the clothes off. If this is a nudist colony, and You want me to model? I'm going to do what you ask and just have an experience for the mama and have an experience for the sake of having an experience.
You know what? That's what I love about your journey. When I was doing my research, one of the interviews you were talking about, you said that even with one of your biggest shows, you were doing a show with Joan Rivers, but you still had a city job because of that stability and things like that. And that's what I get a sense from you. Like this, even though this is your career, this is who you are. I don't take this as this is something that you're looking to make it big from. You thoroughly enjoy bringing joy to people, whether it is through comedy, whether it is through voice, whether it is through just being artistic. You enjoy being in that, and I think that that's why your characters, that's why the people that you do, your voice work for. That's why we can see that, because it's, again, and that goes into what you say, when you're all in, is because you are enjoying it. This is something that you are truly enjoying to do, and I think
it almost feels like I can't help it.
Like it's something that's not been diagnosed yet. We don't know what it is. We're gonna call it Debra Wilson syndrome.
And I don't have to be paid for it. It's not like I have to be paid for it, which is another reason why I don't do a lot of conventions like Comic-Con and stuff. I will do them when I'm asked to be on a panel and share and talk. But a lot of times I won't do the other aspect of it, because it is a business in which you sell your pictures and you take pictures with people and you get paid for it. And I feel awkward to get paid for because if somebody walked up to me in the street and asked, for a picture and a hug, I'm not going to charge you for it. Right. So why would I do that on any scale, whether it be a larger scale or a smaller one? So and at the same time, I want to respect those who are selling stuff.
Yeah.
To not have people go, well, why am I going to him getting that when I can get over here for free? I'll just,
Makes sense.
Find a picture of you on the internet that's already been signed, and I'll just, So that's the other business aspect, to respect people who have that legitimacy of a business, after they've done the interviews, and because they're perpetuating their career, but there's nothing for me to perpetuate. I just want to have an experience and continue having these experiences and create for the sake of creating, and to bring all that stuff that is within me out all the time, because I think that is the nature of God, the same way that, life to me, in my opinion, on a spiritual and metaphysical level, and is eternal. It's an eternal energy, and it gets transformed like matter into another form of energy. And so while I have this vessel and this vehicle to drive, I just need to keep getting it out, because someone said when you were created, you have no tank that will never be full without gas. And so for me, it's like I have an eternal gas tank. I can keep doing what I do. I may get to places slower, and I may take different routes, and I may pull over to take a nap in my vessel, but my tank never runs out of gas. Okay, until it does. And that means I've served my purpose and I've had this experience, but even this experience is a limited experience, and there is one that is waiting for me that is not. And so I'm supposed to live that purpose and help raise the vibration until I'm gone. And even then, whatever residual energy is left echoes throughout eternity, and that mark is made. No one stopped thinking about who Martin Luther King was and celebrating him simply because he died and go like, oh, he's dead, so what does it matter? He's gone. You don't forget that, because the memory is stronger than the actual physical presence.
Okay, yeah, no, I love that. So talking to you actually answered one of the fan questions that we had, because one of the fan questions that we had was, why isn't Debra Wilson on social media? But it kind of, I guess, coming from this interview, it kind of seems like you are more so for, you enjoy experiences, you enjoy meeting people. I can't see you living so much on social media.
Yeah, I don't need it. It doesn't really serve a major purpose for me, because I'm not promoting anything, and I don't need to, the people that I'm sharing my life with, and the people that I'm sharing my day with, and the people that I'm sharing my experiences with, that I'm meant to share with, are already being shared with. Yeah. And I don't care if it's someone who walks to me up in the street. That was the experience I'm meant to have. So I'm living from experience to experience. And I've watched what people on the internet can do when it is written in a written form or a picture form. Because for those that are still matriculating to find their highest self and their highest purpose, or not looking to find that because they don't believe in anything greater than themselves, they are there to battle that energy because we're all energy. They battle that energy by tossing it to somebody else. Because if I put that energy into you and disproving you, disliking you, dismantling your stuff, then it takes the focus and the onus off of me, number one. And number two, it gets out all of that energy in the same regard that is less loving, because I need to get that out because it's within me. So whatever you focus on increases. So if you're focusing on raising the vibration and loving the vibration and living the vibration with every sacred breath of God, then you can't help but to create. And in that, you are creating an abundance that people can be inspired by and continue to be focused on creating their own. You're a beacon so that they can recognize their own light without being their own light. And so there are those who live in that dark space because of the three-dimensional aspects of the world that they had in their expectation. And so when it's not met in the physical world, and it'll never be met in the physical world, but when they've put all of their onus into that space, then what they need to do as an eternal energy, as like us, is to let it all out. And so to let that all out on somebody else is like, now I take the focus off of me and let it all out and spew on you. It's like an alcoholic or a rageaholic. I need to let it out. And so I need a vessel and a vehicle where I can release it to something else. Because I've chosen not to accept anything greater than this three-dimensional world. So I'm playing a chess game and moving pieces on the board. And while it's frustrating psychologically, I take my frustrations out by making you the punching bag on social media, because it's easy and it's convenient, and there is no repercussion for me. It's like a punching bag that can't punch back or won't punch back. Or if punches back, just adds more fuel to the fire. It's like putting out the fire with gasoline. And so I was on Facebook for a while, and all of the stuff that I put out was very spiritual oriented. And there were those who were combative because they needed to have that space. And I offered them that space. But if you got combative with other people who were on that space for love, that's when I broke it up and said, okay, now I have to put the kibosh on you. You can do that to me, but you can't do that to anybody else on this space, because this is a safe haven. And because I created this haven, I know how safe it is for me. But when I start inviting everybody in, and you start doing that to the people that are brought in, who I told them it's a safe haven, and you start in your illusion trying to make it a not safe haven, I got to put the kibosh on that. And I've watched people grow and change and immerse themselves away from it. Like they immerse themselves into something else away from that energy. So I've watched people who call themselves atheists and watched people who were combative and mean change, because I would always message them and we would have these conversations. And when I got to the heart of their pain and I legitimized and validated their pain and I shared where it was coming from, there was a sense of relief and release to be open to other things. And as I continued to share, I don't push God down your throat. I don't push a belief system down your throat. I don't push religion down your throat. I don't push spirituality down your throat. But I will tell you my experience, and my experience for me is legitimate. And so I'm only here to share my experience. And so as I share my experience, whatever you see in that human connection that vibrates with you, you're looking at the truest self that you are, the beauty that you are. And I recognize that whether you recognize that in yourself or not. And I didn't need social media to do that. I can just have an experience and do that. And yet, without social media, I keep getting more interviews than ever before. More interviews than ever before. And I said, that's the platform.
Yeah.
So if I'm meant to have a platform, it's people's space that say, come and play. We want to know more about you, and we want to give you a platform for your authenticity so that you can help raise the vibration of the authenticity of people who don't recognize how beautiful and how perfect and how amazing they are. And so my platform is never just about me. It's always about, we all have a space and a platform that is not social media oriented, because before all that happened, we are the social platform. Everything that God created is within you. We are that Garden of Eden. And so we can create a platform of love that raises the vibration and shares the best of us for the rest of us. Or we cannot do that. And we can use the outside stuff in a limitation and feel frustrated about that limitation because we feel like we have to constantly use it for those devices, you know, and at the touch of a finger. at the touch of a finger, at the touch of a button, electronics. And so I don't need all of that for this platform, because if one person has an experience, a greater experience of self, I'm a vessel for that support. So I can't give you anything. I can't heal you. I can't give you anything that is not already within you. What I can do is live my most authentic and legitimate self in my relationship with my God. And whatever you glean from that, I am a beacon so that you can see your own light, so you can recognize your own light. So when people say you're amazing, or I think you're amazing, I just say, well, how sweet of you to see yourself in me. How sweet of you to see yourself in me, because they are putting out an SOS that says I am that, but I don't take ownership in my consciousness. But yet at the same time, the mind can't help but know itself. We just ignore it.
How many people do you stop in their tracks? Do they stop in their tracks when you give that back to them like that? Because I can imagine me seeing you in public, like, oh my God, it's Debra Wilson. I gotta let her know how amazing she is. And you say, man, how great is that? You see that in yourself. And I'm like, I feel like that's
how sweet of you to see yourself in me.
Yeah, I feel like that has to stop a lot of people in their tracks when they have that, because you have this moment where, again, that surreal moment. You're having this surreal moment where you're talking to somebody, in a sense, like I said, you are a celebrity, and so people are seeing that. And for you to take that approach and also give them something, give somebody else.
I can't give you anything.
Yeah.
I don't give anything. All I can do is live my most authentic self. And so whatever you're experiencing the connection of oneness, even if you're not sure that you can call it that, or want to call it that, or could call it that, or need to call it that, or call it nothing at all. And so I'm here that in that authenticity, the moment you ask questions, the moment you engage me, I got you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to pass out a pamphlet, and I'm not going to share anything. But the moment you ask, I fucking got you. So if someone says, oh, wow, about that, I would say 99.99% of the time, people will tell me I needed to hear that. When they ask what that means, or if it goes over their head, and I said, let me say it again. Because you listen, you heard me, but you weren't listening. You heard me, but you weren't listening. And I'll look in their eyes and say, how sweet of you to see yourself in me. You said I was amazing, yes? Well, then how sweet of you to see yourself in me. And they have to take that yoga breath in to recognize that. And then I don't have to, but I choose to let them know how amazing and fantastic they are, how beautiful they are, that they were created in the image and likeness of God, and therefore they are perfect. You're perfect for your learning, perfect for your health, perfect for your journey, perfect for your growth, perfect for your transmutation. Everything is already within you for that perfection. The only thing that's missing is you recognizing it.
Oh, man.
That's why I call people brother love's a beautiful one.
Yeah.
Thank you, beautiful one. Thank you, beautiful. Always, because I recognize who you are, even if you don't. You can feel like the ugliest person in the world, and I know how beautiful you are. I know how God created you. I know how God created you. Yeah. And I don't need these to see it. And that's why I'm not on social media, because I don't need a legitimacy on that platform to see what I see right before me.
That's lovely. Like, I'm telling you, like, the energy, you give off such dope energy, man. I love it.
Blessings. Blessings.
All right. So we two segments that we generally do. And we do just a quick top 5, and then we do a recommendation. So for you, just top 5 voices that you got a chance to. It doesn't have to be in order. It doesn't have to be just your top 5. But if you have to choose 5 voices that you have done, that you have portrayed, what are 5 of your favorites or your top?
Baby Murloc, because it's iconic for World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Seer Junda, because our energies are merged eternally.
Okay.
And game-wise. Others I can break away from, but Seer is, when I'm doing performance capture for her, she pulls me into the experience so I can get a chance to experience her. We're the closest in energy.
Okay.
We're the closest as in Jedi energy and spirit energy. We're the closest in the Force energy. And so whenever I am immersed in Seer Junda, I am still discovering myself as Seer emerges. And in across the spectrum, would be a video game that I did called Wolfenstein: The New Colossus.
Love Wolfenstein.
And so this character, Grace Walker, it took place in the 60s. She had an afro and she was just really badass. She was Pam Grier.
Yeah.
And so she had the mouth of a sailor, but a legitimacy to raise the vibration and still be who she was.
Okay.
She would breastfeed a baby while smoking a cigarette. And so she is what I like to call the alter Negro. There's an alter ego and she's the alter Negro, because she'll tell you as it is. And her battle and her struggle and her desire to raise the vibration didn't need to have these poignant words.
Right.
She just knew how to be her, and the struggle was real. The struggle was real, and it wasn't a black or white struggle. The struggle was real for saving democracy. And whoever wanted to join could join. But keep in mind, this was the 60s.
Yeah.
So that Black power and that Black Panther energy was there, but very open for anyone who said, I'm standing up for democracy. I'm standing up for that truth. Because she was a truth seeker and a truth, a freer. She was there to free and make this be known and refuse to live under tyranny, no matter what.
Right.
And she was just badass. She is badass. And I can jump into her any damn day of the week. And the other two, without a doubt, which I still do for people, is Whitney Houston and Oprah Winfrey. My impressions of Whitney Houston to Oprah Winfrey. The one social media site I am on, someone convinced me to do it and said, I think you would really enjoy this, Debra. And I think it was be a platform where you can be in a safe haven and have this great fun and make a little money too. And it's Cameo.
Oh, I was just about to say, because you know what's funny? I had the privilege to also be able to interview Gary Anthony Williams. And so like, out of the blue, and I was like, we use this to this day. He did like a whole shout out to the Geekset podcast in Uncle Ruckus voice. And I was like, this is amazing. But it was like, but yeah, Cameo. I love it because you get to embody, especially if you do voice work, you get to embody a voice or, somebody and just kind of make somebody's day that way. So I can see you loving Cameo.
As I'm doing, greetings, because Cameo was a greeting site. You're doing birthdays and all of this stuff. The average Cameo, they say, should be about 90 seconds.
Right.
I average 13 to 20 minutes.
Because you love it so much, so you just get into it.
Improv, because sometimes they'll say like, it's my cousin, she loves Bunifa, or it's my sister and she loves Oprah. So I will improv and do a whole sketch, a whole thing, and I'll bring in other people to argue with her. And yeah.
I'm gonna hit your Cameo up. I'm gonna get something for my podcast. I'm gonna get you to do something for the podcast on Cameo.
Absolutely.
And then one more person. You got one more left that you was gonna.
And don't hit me up with Cameo. Just I have a phone. I could do it and then send it to you. You don't need to go to Cameo. Why are you paying for it? The people that are paying for it are going, look, it's a special occasion or it's this. And some folks just go like, look, I want to pay a little bit of money just to talk to you. And I'm like, let's talk. Okay. Let's talk. That kind of a thing. So it's all good. It's all good. And there are people that constantly come back. One person he did until I finally said, you know what, you can spend your money elsewhere. I love you and I appreciate you and I respect you. But now you're clinging on and asking questions where you can go on the internet and find some of the stuff. But you don't need to perpetuate it simply to pay me. But he did like 22 cameos, back to back to back to back, 22 cameos. And it was like, you don't really need to you don't need to do this. You really don't. And it was lovely at first because all the questions were fun and provocative and silly. And then sometimes it would get really, really personal. It was like, it's not about me. It's about giving a greeting. And he never asked for a greeting. It was always, tell me about this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. And finally it was like, let's move forward. Take my love with you. Don't move without me because I'm with you.
Right.
But you don't need to spend money to ask me questions sometimes that are obvious or questions that you already know the answer to, that kind of a thing. But for the most part, it's this really fun space to connect to people. And sometimes they come to me for spiritual reasons and say, listen, I need a pep talk about this, or my cousin or sister or brother or aunt or uncle need a pep talk about that. So it's a very safe and loving haven where I can connect to people and they get the fun silliness of the Oprah Winfrey's and the Whitney Houstons and the Bonifas. So how many did I give you? I thought I gave you 5 already.
You did give me 5. I started thinking, I was like, wait, she did, because you said 2 at the same time. So I do apologize for that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
So the last thing that we generally do is a recommendation. It could be something that you're reading, watching, listening to, something that you are just into, but something that you think that our listeners and our viewers should check out.
I can't say that there's anything I'm legitimately into out in that world, because all the stuff that I'm into really is here. I have 2 aquariums, I have 8 species of tarantulas, and I have 14 scorpions and a dog.
Yeah.
And so I love, that's the other geeky aspect of me. And one of my scorpions just had babies, had scorplings. And so, that's the geeky stuff that I'm into. I'm trying to think, and I'd be hard pressed to think if there's something that I'm into on the outside, because for me, nothing ever lasts long. It's almost like the changing of the seasons. And once they change, the leaves are never the same. They're not the same leaves because they've been new leaves that come on. It's not like those leaves die and they shrivel up, but they stay on the tree and then they bloom again. Or this flower dies and then the same flower blooms. It's not that case for the most part. And so I'm very clear to release stuff out into the universe for whatever experience God has coming here. So releasing is one of those things that I do very easily, whether it be with clothes or jewelry or money or furniture. It's letting stuff go in order for this new experience to come in. So I never hold on to anything, but for so long in my life, even the things that I watch. So I don't really binge watch. I binge watch some stuff, but if I have to take that course and go binge watching, there is a series that on YouTube, it was on YouTube Red, and it didn't come back. And it was highly touted, and it was brilliant and amazing. And it's quirky and it's dark and it's violent. And I loved it. It was a YouTube series called Wayne.
Okay.
And it was about a young guy. I don't know if it was Boston, but he was on the Eastern Seaboard, New England, one of the New England states. And it was about his awkwardness and his desire in this awkwardness to be like Holden Caulfield from Catcher in the Rye, which is, I'm out there to help people. But how he interpreted it was to bust some ass.
Yeah,
and he did not care how much he got beat for it. It was just a part of his principle. And so he was always encountering violent situations, but it didn't matter to him how brutally he was beaten. It was his principle of protecting others, his principle of standing up, no matter how big that person was. And so he moves through his journey, and it is a coming of age story at the same time. But it's so well written. It's so well done. I was mesmerized. I watched every single episode back to back to back until I watched like 8 hours of television, 9 hours of television. I did that with that. And I did that with the first and second season of Cobra Kai.
Ah, yeah. Cobra Kai was good. Yeah.
Yeah. So those were the 2 things that I can think of the last time. And those now it's been like a year and a half, 2 years that I binged watched like that.
Okay.
But if you haven't seen Wayne, I still recommend it. It is mind-blowingly brilliant.
I pulled it up right now.
Wayne.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. What I was gonna do is I was gonna flip what you said. I was gonna say, well, with you being so much into just, animals, insects, and life and stuff like that, I was gonna say your recommendation could be just get out there and experience life more.
Yeah.
Because that's what sometimes
you can do that too.
Some people don't get a chance.
You can do that, absolutely. But if you're talking about, that recommendation and that thing that people can go like, okay, I want to see what you saw in this particular experience. The last thing, like I said, it hits me is Wayne.
Okay.
And I wish it would come back for a second season, but it's brutal and it's dark humor and it's violent and it's funny, but it's very gritty because it's real.
The same creators who did Deadpool wrote that. So that's also
Yes.
where it came from. I just looked that up. So yeah. So usually at this point, we ask people to plug their social media. But so with you not having social media, just any parting words for the viewers, for the listeners then.
Be blessed, be well, be happy, be healthy, be you. Most especially be you, because you are beautiful.
Thank you. Well, again, this has been One-on-One with Deuces. This has been the Geekset podcast, the only podcast that blend hip-hop culture and geek culture together. I've been Deuces. This has been the amazing Debra Wilson, and I appreciate you, and we are out. Peace.
You like that video? Man, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. We got so many more videos on our page, so make sure you check them out over here. Hit that subscribe button and tap that notification bell so that way you can always be notified anytime we release a new video. You already know how Geekset get down. We got so much coming for y'all, man. Check it out. Stay in tune.